Hello, I'm Professor William Watkin, and I've just interrupted a meal of quail's tongues whilst listening to Wagner to talk to you a little bit more about the creepy clown mask phenomena. So since my last post on this subject, it has transpired that somebody in Sweden has been stabbed, although not fatally. It seems inevitable now that as the crisis spread across Europe, that by just sheer weight of numbers, eventually somebody will be particularly seriously hurt on this phenomenon. It made me think about one more element of the crown mask phenomena that I didn't talk about, in particular the relationship, which might seem unlikely in the first instance, between clowns and drones. And indeed, clowns and drones seems to me the ideal name for this particular vlog. What have clowns got to do with drones, in other words? Well, in my previous vlog I talked about the distancing effect of the clown mask and how masking allows you that degree of distance so that you can behave in an antisocial fashion within a social environment, and that by essence the social environment, by implication, although we didn't talk about this, is to stop you behaving in an antisocial fashion by the social environment creating certain sorts of pressures around you so that you don't behave violently. This, by the way, goes back to the most ancient ideas about social contracts and politics and the presupposition of the state of nature, that if we're left to our own devices, Janet will kill John, but if James is sovereign over Janet and John, then he'll keep an eye on them, and Janet would like to kill John. We all want to kill John, but Janet doesn't kill John because she's worried that if Janet kills John, James will kill Janet and all of Janet's family and all of Janet's friends. And so that's the standard model. Now, this therefore seems to go to the heart of what the clown mask allows you to do. In other words, why it releases violence, because it produces a masking effect that separates you out from the social contract and allows you to behave as if you're not Janet but somebody else, Jeremy for example, or Juju. It doesn't really matter what you want to call yourself. This has a relationship to weapons, believe it or not. If you think about the progress of weaponry, as I often do, from simply pummeling someone with a fist right the way up into the invention of drones, it's been a slow development of distanciation, as we would say. So initially, if you wanted to kill someone or maim or hurt them, you had to hit them with your fist. And not only was hitting somebody with your fist inefficient, it was also very intimate and very messy. As we replaced fists with bows and then with spears and then eventually with guns, what appears to be the case is that we're improving the efficiency of how to kill someone. And certainly it is true, in my experience at least, that killing someone, for example, with a sharp stick is to some degree easier than killing someone with your bare fist. But in actual fact, the efficiency of killing someone is directly related to that other effect of killing someone with a weapon, which is distanciation. Because the history of violence has really been a history of an increase of efficiency related to an increase in distance. And so that if you have to pummel someone directly, it's inefficient, but it's also unpleasant, and therefore this leads you to perhaps desist from pummeling somebody to death with your fists. As you enter into weaponization, however, you can distance yourself from someone, and this increases your propensity to create acts of violence, I believe, but it also allows you to be more efficient in your acts of violence. So this distancing effect that we talked about in relation to the clown mask, it is in actual fact a significant element of our development of technology, from the moment that we added something to our hand and hit somebody to these days with drones. And what particularly interests me about drones is this distancing effect. So for example, with a drone, you are able to kill large numbers of people from many thousands of miles away, and your only direct relationship to them is a digitized relationship to them via digital enhancement of imagery on the tip of there's a drone, for example. And this facilitates an act of war or an act of killing, where the distance between the person being killed and the person killing them is at the furthest remove it possibly can be, really. And this has quite clearly been seen to facilitate a certain kind of cold barbarity that is typical of contemporary war. And so the distancing effect in weaponization, it actually facilitates or allows for the activity of violence. The further away you are from the individual that you're killing, it apparently appears the easier it is to kill that person. Of course, one of the reasons for that is it takes you away from the social environment. The whole point of the social environment, as I mentioned earlier, is effectively to stop people killing each other. It's to reproduce those competitions for food and dominance and reproduction and so on, from a simple one-on-one fight to a series of tensions and relations that ultimately come to be called politics. What is inevitable, of course, if you put a mask on and distance yourself from other people, is you start down that slippery slope of violence that weaponisation facilitates. It's only one more step from wearing a mask to being able to stab someone with impunity. It's the same sort of idea of how a group of individuals can kind of mask themselves from the activity that they're doing and produce more violent mob effects than if they were one-on-one with somebody. And of course it is also the distancing effect that guns allow to increase the amount of violence, for example, by simply distancing yourself from the activity of actually taking somebody's life. So it seems to me this is just kind of a footnote to the clown mask phenomena, but a very interesting one, that not only is clowning relating to trolling, but clowning is directly related to droning, which is a sobering and slightly disturbing thought to take on into a Friday night when you want to have it large. Thank you.